Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or rather, good day to all of you. This is Kris from Instacoins bringing you episode number 6. Actually, it's been a while since we recorded episode 5. It's been kind of busy, considering the start of 2025 within the crypto industry. But hopefully, we'll bring in some snippets today which can, potentially give you a bit of an eye opener of how you can potentially start looking at the rest of 2025. And how's best to do that? Well, we've got Nick Symes today with us, actually, who's going to be helping us out. He's a business developer at Instacoins, so an in-house person. But of course, he's going to be giving us some very interesting information about how we can, look at the future, the short-sighted future, and of course, the long-sighted. So, Nick, welcome to the podcast, and thanks for joining us.
Very welcome to be here. I'm really excited to do this. Well, where should we start?
Okay, great. So just in case, of course, I gave a very quick introduction to yourself. I think it would be cool to give a better introduction of yourself, especially from a broader perspective, because yes, you are a business developer with Instacoins, but there is much more to you, and then something which I think we got used to going through in every episode is, how every person got to this point, got to the point of when eventually we had the podcast episode. So if you can just give a brief, introduction about yourself, how you got into doing what you're doing, what gave you the interest to start eventually looking at crypto as well, because of course, nowadays you deal within the crypto industry, but of course your past was not directly related to. And I think one of the things that interests people is also how do people move from perhaps more traditional industries to something as modern as a crypto industry. So I think that would be a good way to start.
I have about 20 years background in business development, and I've worked in almost every major sector. I've worked in pharmaceutical, I've worked in the defense sector, I've worked in, I think, 7 years in traditional finance before coming across to the blockchain space in around 2000, late 2017, early 2018 in the wild ICO craze era. It wasn't really a planned move to the blockchain space. It was more that in 2017, 2018, every company in the world was looking how to tokenize their business and how to have an ICO, whether it needed to be on-chain or off-chain. It didn't matter. Everyone wanted to be on-chain just for that kind of crowdfunding element of that ICO craze. So that's when the company I was working for wanted to create a blockchain team. That's when I got involved.
All right. And it is fair to say that nowadays, especially after quite a few months, I'd say almost I think it's been 8-10 months since we've known each other, but something that especially brings in light one of your capabilities is your flair for sales. You've got a very particular way and a very interesting way of how to make lots of conversations with people who you don't know very interesting and very captivating. So from your end, was there a particular moment where you said to yourself, you know what, I really like doing this and I need to find a way how I can make money out of this?
I think it was actually before my sales career started that I developed the skill set. So like late teens, early 20s, I spent a lot of time in hospitality. So I spent 1 year in Rome, in Italy, managing a hostel. I spent a year on a Greek island running a nightclub, an Irish nightclub, the Dubliner.
Okay.
And with these kind of roles, you need to be comfortable creating a conversation that's enjoyed by your customers. So you just have to be able to talk to people. You have to build it from nothing, and it has to be entertaining for them. And that skill set of just being able to create and hold a conversation led to one of the kind of soft skills in sales. So I had that kind of foundation in just being able to have a conversation with people rather than kind of a script and you're calling a list of people on a sales list. I can actually call people that I've researched and have a conversation with them. So I built that part of my skill set before I got into sales.
It's funny because I used to be in sales also, even though let's put it this way. Indirectly, I never wanted to be, but when I was very young, and my first, my first working experience actually was as a receptionist in a travel agency in a family business, and it was meant to be a summer job. But since I tend to look like my father a lot, people immediately, when they were coming into the office and they were seeing me, no matter how many times I told them, listen, I'm the receptionist, I that's all I do is answer calls, take meetings and whatnot, they still wanted me to help them with finding their holiday packages, with booking their holiday packages, simply because as soon as they saw my face, they said, okay, he looks like the father. We have trusted the father for X amount of years, so we will trust him and we won't trust the rest of the employees. So in a way, I was forced to start handling sales. But the funny thing was that even though I never wanted to, I found myself to be very good at it, because at the end of the day, and this is something which I have noticed a lot about you as well, that when we deal with sales or with clients, we do not treat a client as just a potential sale, even though, yes, of course, they are a potential sale. But we look at their interest, we look at what they're looking for, why they're looking for it. We ask the important questions. We want the clients to feel like they are important, they are not just another number. And that helps to create, of course, trust. And that was something which then I started building on. So at the end of the day, I was using my conversation skills, which without wanting to, just perfected the way how I used to approach sales. So I never wanted sales, but at the end of the day, I was very good at it, because I used to help every individual feel like an individual rather than just a client who's just walking through the door, paying you money and leaving. And that is something which I have also seen in you, that when you're working on your leads, on your contacts, the way how you approach people, you do it very individually. You look at their needs, you study their needs, you try to find common grounds, and you try to see why a potential service of Instacoins might be good enough for them, of course, because at the end of the day, we do not just want to lump someone with a service, because it's useless. We need people to have faith in the service and use it. So in this case, I'm using this to get to my question, actually. So when it comes to your sales pitch, when you're approaching your like, different people on your list, so to say, does it change if it is if it's from a different industry, if it is a male or a female, if it is a different age? um, would you change your approach with people in that case?
I would say 30% of it I would change because of in business development. In business development, volume is quite important. So you have to do enough outreach to get the return on investment that you want, but you also want to tailor it a little bit to each client. So yeah, I would 100% agree. You need to make it that conversation. You need to make it a bit special for them. You need to understand the challenges that they don't want to hear about the awards we've won. They don't want to hear about the years that we've operated. They want to hear that I understand their day-to-day challenges, that I've solved them before, and that I can actually prove through some kind of social proof, press release or something like that, that I have solved it for someone in their field before. So that's what I would do is I let people know very early that I understand their challenges. I understand the pain points they have. I can solve them. We're uniquely positioned to being able to solve them, and we have done it before. So 30% of that will change, but in regards to volume of outreach, I need to keep about 70% like a template.
Okay. Now, another question, perhaps. So when approaching everything, right? Do you see certain common situations where maybe clients of certain industries, or again certain ages? Why am I mentioning ages again? Because I do understand that people of a certain age might be more inclined to study the idea of accepting, crypto as a payment method, for example, but people of another age, they might be a bit more reluctant. Now, in this case, would that also affect the way how you would change the approach? Would you maybe try to use more, let's say, um, uh, old school terminology for the new people to try to help them understand, like what's the difference between um, the way how they made business before, the older generation, how they made business before, and how they can potentially increase their revenue if they start accepting cryptos. So is that a challenge which you would face?
It is, and I'm certainly seeing it a little bit with auction houses. Like if it's a private jet charter, if it's a super yacht charter, it tends to be a younger crowd. The millennial millionaires that are holding crypto, they're comfortable with paying in crypto. So the challenges wouldn't be the same for someone trying to sell to that market. Whereas an auction house that is dealing with 60 to 70-year-old investors, they're not as comfortable in paying in crypto. So I would have to change the value that we would provide to them. It'd be more about, rather than adding a service to your current clientele, it would be about approaching and opening your business to a new branch of clientele. So it wouldn't be so much the terminology, it would be more about, are we going to help your current clients or are we going to open you up to new clients?
Okay, no, that is quite fair, because of course, I mean, but let's face it, if at the end of the day our option or our service is there for to help new companies give more payment options to existing clients, maybe it is not as much as a reason for them to adopt crypto as a payment solution. But if we're there to try to help them to broaden their clientele, then of course that will make a big difference. Now, another
Can I
question, maybe.
just jump in? I mean,
Yeah, of course.
on that point, I think there's a really relevant thing to mention is a lot of people aren't familiar with the fact that they know that they need a mobile phone for their business. They know that they need an internet for their business. They don't feel that they need blockchain payment solutions for their business. But most of them don't know that the adoption for blockchain wallet users to get to 300 million users was faster than mobile phone and faster than internet users. And I think if you spoke to someone today and said, in the 1990s, they would say, I've worked in this industry for 20 years, we don't need a mobile phone. Or I've worked in this industry for 20 years, I don't need the internet. Nowadays, they would be left behind if they weren't doing that. And blockchain got there faster than both of those different industries together.
Yeah.
So I think you do just have to help educate people as well as kind of bring them on board.
Yes, which is of course, what we try to do also with these episodes. We try to. That's why I ask these questions, because at the end of the day, I hope at least that we have people who are watching us and listening to us that might of course be interested in the subject, but they still don't know how to go about it. And perhaps one of the things which they might not know how to go about is, for example, let's say that there is a business that wants to start accepting crypto as a form of payment, and they would like to use Instacoins services. What would the onboarding process be like? Some may think that this can be a lengthy process. Are you okay with giving us a bit of a brief of generally, how would that go about? I mean, is it's a communication which you initiate? How would the whole role go at the end of the day? Because I mean, this also makes a big difference, because sometimes we have people that might get in contact with us today and would say, listen, I do have a client that wants to pay me in crypto today. Are we able to get the onboarding done today?
I mean, I had this situation recently, and yeah, it definitely happens. Like, what typically happens is, let's use private jet charter as an example. So we would have someone come to us. They've had one of their favorite customers ask them to pay in cryptocurrency, and they've said no because they don't want to face any risk. They have to pay the fleet operators after the customer pays them. If the market drops 20%, they're going to be at a loss and they're not going to be able to pay the operators. So they tend to traditionally say no to the customer. Then they'll lose one of their favorite customers, or they'll see their competitors starting to offer this option. So they'll approach us because we are an EU licensed exchange. So we have that kind of lack of risk attached to us. But they still have a lot of concerns. They don't follow the crypto market and they don't really want to. That tends to be typical for people we work with. They certainly don't want to touch any crypto. They don't want to hold any crypto and face that volatility. And they're also not sure of demand. I hear it every day of people saying, I've had one email in 2 years. And so then they don't want any kind of setup costs or monthly fees or cost per transaction. So they have this really common set of concerns about the market, and that's exactly why people use us. You know, there's no integration, there's no API, there's no IT team needed to integrate this solution. There's no touching of any crypto. As soon as we process the transaction, we pay them in euro, we pay them in USD, we pay them in whatever fiat currency they're used to receiving. They receive the exact quoted amount. So if they've quoted a client 145,000 euros, they receive 145,000 euros. And the onboarding system is as streamlined as possible. So it takes around, if you have the company details available, it can take like 30 minutes to fill in the form. We'll need 2 or 3 documents, and then you're onboarded. We can start processing transactions that same day. So we've made the process as simple as we possibly can for companies to start accepting crypto.
That's great. And of course, it's good also to mention that when clients do get onboarded, or when companies or businesses or let's say, private jet charters, as you mentioned, they have a choice, of course, of how they can also get these transactions done. It can be done online, of course, and it can also be done from a personal level. I don't know if maybe you want to also shed a little bit more light on the way how that can be done.
Yeah, certainly. So I speak to private jet brokers every single day, and I hear kind of a lot of the horror stories of where their favorite customer will come to them on a Saturday night and say, "I need to be at the Champions League final tomorrow in Germany. Get me on a flight." And obviously, you can't do a wire transfer on the Saturday night. The banks only operate in business hours. Quite often, the last minute booking will be more than one credit card can cover. So I've heard stories of people trying to use 4 different credit cards to try and cover a payment on a Saturday night, and it's a real headache. So this kind of solution offers to remove all of those headaches. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week that you can do the transaction. With the online OTC service for Bitcoin payments, they can see exactly the process that the customer is going through. They can see when the customer has started the transaction. They can see when the transaction is completed. They know for sure on Saturday night that the customer has paid and that they'll receive those funds as soon as the banks open on Monday morning. So there is that solution for BTC, 24/7 payments for customers, which jet and yacht guys love that for the last minute bookings. Sometimes you will have customers say, "Hey, we would love to book in crypto, but we want to pay in Solarium, Ethereum, USDT, any other token that you've heard of." And we would provide a personalized VIP service. So we'll set up something like a WhatsApp group chat for you. You would say, "Hey, we've got this customer. The quote amount is this amount. This is the token they want to pay with." And we'll just offer that same streamlined service. So we'll offer you, we'll say, "Okay, 33,000 euros is this amount in USDT. Here is the wallet address. Okay, we see the funds incoming. Okay, the funds are received. Payment made." So either doing it yourself with your own payment link or doing it through the VIP service in our WhatsApp group, you can cater to any of your clients' needs 24 hours, 7 days a week.
And that is, in fact, the most important. But what is also important for you to know, who's watching or who's listening to this podcast, is that Nick also provides the possibility to go through a demo with as regards to this, web OTC or our OTC online service. So of course, Nick can also help you go around the online system, so you can see how it works, as you mentioned, so you can see all the processes and where eventually the client would be at what stage. But of course, yes, we also have these WhatsApp groups or Telegram groups if needs be, and things are done pretty quickly over there as well. So thanks, Nick, for shedding light on that. Another question, maybe this is a bit more due to recent events, I would say. But I don't know if you would see this as a tricky question or not. So one of the questions, of course, that many people are asking at this stage, let's remember that we just started, Q2 in 2025, is that when we look at the first 3 months of 2025, as compared to the last 3 months of 2024, then of course there is quite a heavy drop within the crypto industry. Now, how would this generally affect people within the crypto industry or people wanting to get within the crypto industry. So from your perspective, as a business developer, is this a means how to find an opportunity with selling services related to crypto, or would you find this to make your job harder?
I think the classic answer to that is it depends. I mean, if you look at the market exactly 12 months ago, it's pretty similar to where it is now. I think people were very happy with it to get up to that amount 12 months ago, and now they're a bit sad because it's come down. I think you can look at it both ways. I mean, some people will look at it and think, oh my gosh, it's going to drop another 10%. I better spend it now before it does drop. Other people would think, no, I want it to go back up 10% before I spend it. So it would really depend on the mindset of the spender. But I think it's split across the board. I think, in 2023, 5 billion was spent in cryptocurrency. If you zoom out at the map, it's going to grow to 17 billion by 2033. There's always these ups and downs, but it's always upward growth. It's outperforming any of the kind of traditional
Yeah.
finance sectors.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think there's some people that will hold. There's some people that will spend more. It's that kind of classic and common, but unfortunate answer of it depends.
So, I'm going to ask, part two of the same question. Let me make it a bit trickier, maybe. So, you mentioned the spending of the crypto. Now, what if it were the buying of crypto? So, using the same, the same bit of the question, so to say, that there was, the underperformance of crypto within the first 3 months of 2025 as compared to, so there will be some people who say that, no, does it make sense for me to buy crypto now? Whereas there will be other people who would say, you know what, I'm going to buy the dip because this can only get better. So of course, I mean, part of the services which Instacoins also offers is not just the merchant solution, where in that case it is people who have crypto and they want to find a way how to spend it, but we also have a way how to service individuals or companies, corporations, businesses that want to actually purchase crypto for themselves for their own use, and they can also do that through us with advantageous rates. So in this case, how would you treat this? Do you see this as a potential advantage for trying to win new clients over?
I think that's a really interesting and almost funny topic. I think the volatility at the moment is so politically based. It's so based on elections and tariffs and these other areas that I personally I see it at the moment as you're able to purchase at a discount. It's like a sale. At the moment, you can buy it for 20% off. And I think it's really funny because, like, when it gets to 90,000, 100,000 euros, people are like, why didn't I buy at 70,000 euros? I should have bought at 70,000 euros. And then it goes down to 70,000 euros, and people are like, oh no, I don't want to buy now. It's really psychological. It's really balanced on so many contributing factors. But I think that just the advice to everyone will be: don't look at the day, like don't look at one day on your trading app. Don't look at 1 week. Look at 1 year. Look at 5 years. Look at the growth over those kind of zoomed out aspects, and you'll see the growth. It's a clear line. So yeah, you can buy at a discount now.
What I will tell you now, I think I mentioned it in an earlier episode, but what I always find it funny because in a way it is, let's say it is regret, regret kicks in, but I'm the kind of person that I have no problems with joking about certain regrets, so to say. But I remember that, back 2 or 3 years, I think around 3 years ago, after Bitcoin had, shot up to the all-time high at the time, then it had gone down quite a lot. And I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, the end of 2022, but I'm not sure. It was the end of 2022 or 2023, one of them. But Bitcoin was almost at 15,000 euro. Almost. It had almost gone down to 15,000 euro. And I had told my partner at the time, because now she's my wife, so so that if Bitcoin would hit 15,000 flat euro, then I will buy Bitcoin. But till it reaches that amount, I'm not going to bother buying. And I am a very hard-headed person. So if it were, it got down to, I think, 15,600 or 15,700, and I kept saying, I said 15,000. So till it gets to 15,000, I won't buy. Of course, I did not buy. But
Mm-hmm.
from 15,000, it eventually went up to 108 or 106, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a massive missed opportunity from my end, you know, that I could have, and I could have been, you know, it would have been a good investment at the time. So what you're saying now, that yes, the perspective that you just put forward is correct. At the moment, the crypto is discounted. There's a discounted price on it because eventually, yes, eventually the prices will go up again. But it is a very good way how to put it, that at this stage, crypto is discounted. So make the most of it. You know, some people will question because, of course, the prices are going down. There is a probability that they can buy and the price will go down a little bit more, but eventually it's going to go back up again. And I think that is what is really intriguing, I keep saying, about the crypto industry, how this volatility at the end of the day, and the way how you said, you know, that if you're going to zoom out and look within the past year and the past 5 years, you know, the trends are pretty clear, even though at the end of the day, when we're looking at the political effects on the trends, that is something which we cannot really foretell or expect. But at the end of the day, things seem to be going towards that direction, so to say. Um, Last thing, you
We
know.
should add, this is not financial advice.
No, no, definitely not. This is my
Don't invest
experience.
more than you can afford to lose.
This is definitely my experience. So no, no, no. That is why I started off with that. You know, because it is something
Yeah,
which I went through. Of course, I mean, everybody can decide to get into crypto at different stages. It might be an advantage to them, it might be at a loss for them. So at the end of the day, you have to make your own research. It's not just what we're saying, because what we are saying is based on our own experience. So of course, yes, you have to do your own research. Speak with the right people if you need to speak to the right people. Even if you want to speak to us, you know, we do have experts that can, they can advise about how to go about things. But at the end of the day, do your homework right, you know, because nobody.
for sure. When I'm talking about crypto, I'm talking about the major tokens as
Yeah.
well. I think the people that are getting involved in these meme coins, the Trump coin, the Hawk Tour, I mean, all you're doing is you're providing exit liquidity to the rug pullers.
Yes.
I would say focus on the major tokens
Yes, yes,
only.
correct. Correct. And unfortunately, when it comes to those coins which you mentioned, there were lots of people over the past, you know, few months that tried to jump on the wagon, thinking that they're going to transform their wagon into a supercar, but they got bitten. And so, yeah, again, as you're saying, you know, there are the secure coins, and there are these coins. You know, do your homework properly. Yes, some
Hmm.
people got lucky, they did buy at the right time before things exploded, but that is a very small percentage, you know, and you can never tell when these things are going to happen. So yeah, do your homework right. Most definitely.
Don't be exit liquidity.
Yes, yes. Nick, one other thing, of course, I mean, we mentioned the private jets and the yachts before, as the merchant solution, or rather, as some examples of companies that you have spoken to and you have serviced. Um, would it be okay if we could mention just a very quick idea of other industries that could, of course, make use of the possibility of adopting or starting to accept, you know, crypto as a form of a payment method? Because there are various industries, and sometimes people within the obvious industries don't realize that maybe this can also be something which they can use.
Yeah, I think a lot of I mean, it's almost every industry. The most common is service or goods providers to high net worth individuals is the one that we're finding the most success with. So it can be almost anything. It can be real estate, it can be art, it could be whiskey, it could be jets, yachts, almost any kind of big ticket item to a high net worth individual. They will have interest in purchasing from you in cryptocurrency. It varies country by country. But generally, if someone has to sell their crypto to then pay you in fiat, that's considered a taxable event. So not only would they have to pay tax on it, They would also have to have a whole section of their tax return. It depends on country by country, but generally. So they would have to talk about gains and losses in their tax return. So it's not just a tax that they would have to pay, it's also a whole headache of filling in their tax return that they can solve immediately just by paying you directly in crypto. So it doesn't have to be jets, it doesn't have to be yachts, it can be timepieces, it can be villas, it can be anything you can think of, big ticket items. Your clientele will appreciate the payment option, and it's very, very easy. We get a bit of pushback from the finance departments because they think they're going to have to start balancing crypto on their books, and it just isn't the case. The merchant is going to receive euros, USD exactly as they're used to. It's going to be exactly the same service. So yeah, any industry we can almost service. It's particularly suited to the request for quote system, but it can be any payment flow.
Perfect. Something to also maybe clarify or to add to what Nick also said is the possibility, as I mentioned before, that there can be some corporations or businesses that want to purchase crypto themselves. And why would they do this? Because we know that certain employees or certain bonuses nowadays are also being given in crypto also. So that could also be a means for businesses and corporations to purchase crypto from us, for instance. Whereas in that case, or else they can use our merchant solution also, where we could send the crypto to their to the people who they want to send the crypto to, be it bonuses, be it the purchase or whatever. So there's also that flow which is possible. And last but not least, there is also what we refer to as our referral scheme, so to say. So if you know anybody, or if you know any companies or have any friends that would like to adopt crypto within their business, and start accepting crypto as a payment solution, introduce them to us. And as soon as that they will start transacting and they will start having clients, and that is something which you will also be benefiting from by getting a referral fee. So that is also a means how to get some passive income, which nowadays I think everybody can make good use of that. So Nick,
everyone's looking for passive income.
yeah,
One thing I would add is, like, you don't have to sell our service to the referral. You just have to introduce us. Just say, hey, these guys do this service. These guys are interested, and we'll handle that kind of whole process. You don't have to do any more than that, and you can get a passive income from every transaction for life.
exactly. And as Nick said, for life. So it's a lifetime thing. So if a transaction happens today, another one happens next year, another one happens in 3 years' time, you'll be getting a commission from the one today, from the one next year, and from the one in 3 years' time. So yeah, it is something pretty handy. Crypto is the future. Everybody will eventually start adopting it. So yeah, this is your way how to maybe get something extra from it as well. So yeah, Nick, thank you very much for that. Half an hour passed really quickly, to be honest, but I think that is normal whenever we have these podcasts. So thank you for that.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers. We will, of course, see you in the next episode. Episode number 7. We are still planning that out, but hopefully it will not take us 3 months. Like the time we had from episode 5 till episode 6. And now we're back in full routine again. So hopefully you'll see us soon with our next guest. So thank you and stay tuned.